immunization and vaccination has become the new buzzword, not only amongst the medical professionals, but amongst the lay people as well. So it is pertinent that we should discuss about some nuances about the vaccination and immunization. Basically, immunization is a process where a vaccine, which is a biological preparation that induces an immune response given to the body, provides protection against infection and or disease on exposure to a pathogen. So this is, immunization is a very, very old medical intervention. And many of us who practice adult medicine sometimes ask why immunization for adults. So I think this slide reveals the rationale behind immunizing adults as well as diabetic patients who are adult. So annually, when you see the annual mortality for non-vaccinated adult mortality from VPDs, that is called vaccination preventable disease, it is 350 times more common as compared to the vaccinated children. So inordinately very high percentage of adults die because of the preventable causes, which can be prevented by the judicious use of the vaccines. Globally, there is 1.5 billion deaths occur due to the VPTs. Also, the leading authorities, leading societies like CDC and ADA both say that people with diabetes are at higher risk of developing hepatitis B, influenza, and pneumococcal disease. Once they suffer from these disorders, then the morbidity and mortality is both high when they have got these disorders. Now, when you see the recommended vaccine guideline for all healthy adults in India, then you can find certain agents with certain immunization or vaccines which are not very commonly used. But the panel on immunization on all healthy adults, they recommend the usage of influenza, pneumococcal vaccine, both pneumococcal conjugate vaccine 13-valent and pneumococcal polysaccharide vaccine 23-valent, human papilloma vaccination, both for male and females, herpes zoster vaccination, diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus vaccination, and MMR vaccination. When you compare these guidelines with diabetic patient, then you will find there are 3-4 more vaccination included, and these are the varicella vaccination, vaccination for hepatitis A and hepatitis B. Now, when we'll sort of go through all these important infections which can be prevented by the proper usage of vaccination, and I'll be focusing this presentation mainly on the adult people with diabetes. So first we go to the pneumococcal infection. The third world is highly burdened with pneumonia, and India being the highest contributor with the 43 million cases. In India, pneumonia and meningitis are the most common presentation of the invasive pneumococcal disease, which is also called IPDs. And pneumonia accounts for 39% patient of the total IPD cases. The hospitalization pneumococcal infection is associated with increased risk of hospitalization due to heart disease, as well as high hospital mortality when these patients get admitted. In India, the invasive pneumococcal disease is associated with highest case fatality rate throughout Asia, and that is 28% amongst the people who are aging more than 50 years. According to the 2017 Global Burden of Disease study, the reported incidence and mortality of pneumococcal infection increased by almost 30% people who are aged 50 years or more. So also this slide shows that pneumococcal infection is a significant problem. It is associated with significant morbidity, hospitalization, and economical impact on the society. When we examine the effect of influenza and diabetes or interaction between influenza and diabetes, so it is seen that diabetes increases the risk of hospitalization after influenza infection. It quadruples the risk of intensive care unit admission after hospitalization. Death rates among patients with diabetes during influenza epidemic may be 5 to 15% more as compared to the non-diabetic persons. Evidence shows that influenza can trigger coronary complications. Influenza vaccination in people with diabetes has been found to significantly reduce influenza and diabetes-related hospital admission. So these are the two most important diseases for which the immunization is required. Now, we all know that many of our diabetic patients might be having concurrent NASH, that is non-alcoholic alcoholic steatohepatitis, and within these patients, with this background that diabetic patients are having 2.1 times more risk of developing this infection, the chances of developing end-stage liver disease or hepatocellular carcinoma would be very, very high. Now, there are certain combination of the diseases. One is the diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus. And there is rising incidence of diphtheria in adult, and there are about 6 lakh cases reported annually. Also, with tetanus, there is increasing morbidity and mortality in certain part of the world and with certain profession of the world. And it is reported that tetanus is associated with 61,000 deaths worldwide. So again, it is an important infection for certain sort of a background and certain professions also. Now, though we have got a good control, good pediatric vaccination policy in our country, but even then we are seeing increasing number of patients with measles, and also as late as 2018 we have seen mumps outbreak in southern part of India. So all these diseases may be important for certain scenario and may require vaccination. All of us who are practicing diabetes have seen increasing number of patients who are suffering from chickenpox, adult patients who are suffering from chickenpox. And in fact, in India, more than 30% of individuals aged 15 years or more are susceptible to developing varicella zoster virus infection. In older individuals, the varicella is more severe and prolonged, and the mortality rate may be 15 to 25 times higher than the children. Now, what is the bottom line for adult vaccination in Indian diabetic patient? All adults with diabetes should be encouraged to receive influenza and pneumococcal vaccination. Diabetics above 60 years of age should be strongly advised to be vaccinated. If any diabetic patient who have got CKD, immunocompromised status, chronic lung condition, even mild asthma which is requiring regular treatment, COPD, or smoker, these patients should be advised immunization irrespective of their age. However young they are, they should be advised immunization for at least these two disorders, influenza and pneumococcal infection. Now, we'll just briefly revisit the vaccination schedule for the infections which I have already discussed. The number one confusion amongst some of the healthcare providers is what to use in the pneumococcal vaccination, to use the PCV13, which is also known as Prevnar 13, or PPSV23, commonly marketed as Pneumovax 23. And because of the cost difference, many of the diabetic patients, they end up receiving only PPSV23 or Pneumovax 23. But when you see the difference between the two, then the secondary immunization or secondary immune response after PCV13 is higher as compared to the PPSV23. Also, the initial PCV13, that is the pneumococcal conjugate vaccine, it has got the potential to enhance the response to the subsequent PPSV23 dosage as compared to the PCV13 alone or as compared to the PPSV23 alone. It means that all of our patients require both the immunization. First, the PCV13 or Prevnar 13, and at least 2 weeks, 2 months to 1 year difference, 2 weeks to 1 year difference, the patient should be injected with PPSV23 to have got a robust immunological response against the development of the pneumococcal disease. Now, what is the pneumococcal vaccination policy? All children, and probably they are sort of covered under this, it is recommended that PCV13 or Prevnar 13 is recommended for children before the 2 years of age. People with diabetes aged 2 through 64 years should receive PPSV23 if they have already received PCV13 as their pediatric vaccination schedule. But in our country, most of the present Indian adults with diabetes have not received PCV13 during their pediatric vaccination. Hence, they should receive PCV13 first, and at least 8 weeks to 1 year later, they should receive PPSV23 to get a comprehensive immune protection from the pneumonia. The immunization panel for diabetic recommends that use of PCV13 for immunocompetent adult more than 15 years of age, followed by a dose of PPSV23 at least 1 year later, depending on the clinical judgment of the physician. All adults more than 65 years of age suffering from diabetes, regardless of vaccination history, should receive at least 1 shot of PPSV23. Repeated shot of PPSV23 are not required because it will lead to the hypoimmunization. Now, is it effective? This pneumococcal vaccine is effective. The pneumococcal vaccine effectivity is basically examined in multiple studies, and it was found that it gives protection from invasive pneumococcal disease, pneumococcal pneumonia, respiratory failure, mortality in a wide spectrum of the patient, right from children to the adult and to the elderly. Now we come to the influenza vaccination. The dosing is very, very simple. 1 dose yearly. The intramuscular injection of the 0.5 ml inactivated vaccine, quadrivalent vaccine is recommended. If the patient is going for the live attenuated vaccine, then it is sprayed intranasally in both the nostril. But commonly the intramuscular inactivated influenza vaccine is given, and quadrivalent vaccine is recommended for the vaccination in our country. These are the usual contraindication basically for the influenza vaccination: hypersensitivity to the active substrate or excipients, basically the chicken and egg allergy, and history of acute infective pulmonary neuropathy 6 weeks around the time of the previous influenza vaccination. Now, what is the efficacy of influenza vaccine? Many of our patients, they say they go to the net and they come to us that it is required only after the 50 years of age or after 60 years of age. It is a very, very big study of the 50,000 working age adults, non-elderly people. And when it was compared to the elderly, it was found they had 43% reduction in pneumonia influenza hospitalization and 28% reduction in all-cause hospitalization. And these estimates were similar as were observed in the elderly patients. So if you give influenza vaccination to all of your diabetic patients, they will accrue these benefits as these benefits are also there with the elderly patient with type 2 diabetes. Now, many times, and it is the conventional teaching to give two vaccination at two different times, but it is pertinent to give both the vaccination at the same time because multiple studies have shown that if you give both vaccination, influenza vaccination, pneumococcal vaccination at the same time, that the number of respiratory infection, number of hospitalization, and mortality, everything is reduced. So you can give the vaccination at one go, it will save the cost, it will save the effort, and patient will have more benefits as compared to the separate immunization. Now, I'm not going into the details of the hepatic B vaccination. We all know that we require 3 doses given at the 0, 1, and 6 month schedule. If the patient has received DPT vaccination as a pediatric vaccination, then he requires the TD vaccination, that is tetanus diphtheria booster, every 10 years. If the patient has not received the primary vaccination, then he will require Tdap, that is tetanus diphtheria pertussis vaccination, and then TD vaccination or TD booster every 10 years for rest of his or her life. Also, we have discussed about the varicella, and in certain people, and varicella has become important because after COVID vaccination, after suffering from COVID, there are more cases of adult varicella, and the vaccination schedule is live attenuated vaccine given in two different dosage at 4 weeks interval, and 5 ml subcutaneously given in the upper arm or in the anterolateral thighs. So that is about the varicella vaccination. The practical approach in Indian scenario is to focus our effort on pneumococcal and influenza vaccine because we do not know about the cost-effective ratio, the considerable and the benefit accrued from other immunization. So in that scenario, we should focus our effort to provide pneumococcal and influenza vaccine to most of our type 2 diabetic, most of our diabetic patients. Now, last few slides are basically dedicated to this, the COVID vaccination. I'm not going into the details, which you all know. This is the comparison of all the 3 vaccines which are available in our country. And the efficacy of Covaxin is 81%, Covishield is around 60 to 70%, Sputnik, which will be available, is around 90%. All of them, they require 2 shots. The type, it is inactivated vaccine. The Covishield is adenovirus carrier vaccine, and Sputnik is recombinant adenovirus vaccine. Now, there are some certain facts. COVID-19 vaccine will protect against severe disease and development of asymptomatic infection. It does not protect against transmission of disease, but despite that, we are seeing its effect on the transmission also. Israel being the case in question, and they are probably sort of claiming that they have reduced the transmission with the help of the vaccination. Patient with history of asthma, history of food, pet, insect allergy can receive vaccination. Patient who received monoclonal antibody, which are now recently available in our country, they should defer vaccination for 90 days. The Covaxin people have recommended a booster after 6 months of the initial 2 dosage. And COVID study showed that Covishield is associated with more robust antibody response as compared to the Covaxin after the first dose. We do not know about the vaccination response after the second dose, but Covishield is more potent as far as the first dose is concerned. Now, we also do not know the number of people required to develop the herd immunity because it is different from different disease. So we do not still know whether it is 25 crore, 50 crore, 60 crore, or 1 billion people. In pregnancy, there are no foreseeable problem with the COVID vaccination, but no regulatory authority in India has approved the COVID vaccination in pregnant female. In lactating female, it can be offered without any problem. Serious allergic reaction occur 1 in million. They are low in India, and transient hyperglycemia and hypertension can be seen after the vaccination. There is a syndrome which is called the post-vaccination inflammatory syndrome, may be severe in certain patients, can be prevented by preloading with vitamin D, colchicine, statin, doxycycline, and aspirin in susceptible people who are at high risk of developing vascular event. Then these people can be preloaded with all these agents to prevent the severe inflammation or out of the control inflammation after the vaccination. in certain people, you must have seen that after receiving the second dose, first dose, they develop COVID infection after 4 to 5 days, and probably it is because of the antibody-dependent enhancement of the post-vaccination, which is produced by the generation of the antibodies which are attached to the virus, but they are unable to neutralize the virus, and they basically allow the entry of the pathogen into the cell, and these patients might be having exacerbating COVID-19 infection and other viral infection also, but also the number is not much. And finally, in America, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine vaccination schedule is stopped. Denmark has stopped Covishield or the AstraZeneca vaccination because of the rare occurrence of the vaccine-induced immune thrombotic thrombocytopenia. 6.5 cases, 6.8 million in America, and 5 cases per 5 million in Denmark or the European country. It is a condition characterized by venous sinus thrombosis and thrombocytopenia. There are no clear risk factors are there. It should be suspected when there is venous sinus thrombosis with thrombocytopenia 4 to 28 days of the vaccination, low platelet count, D-dimer of more than 4,000, and antibodies addressed against the platelet factor 4 are the diagnostic feature. The treatment is in IV immune globulin, fondaparinux, not the heparin, steroid, and or plasma exchange may be required, but I have not seen any case report from our country. They are there from the Western world. After receiving the vaccination, moderate exercise, adequate sleep, vaccination in morning time, and proper nutrition is basically would increase the efficiency of the vaccine down the line many months. And in fact, moderate exercise has shown the chances of very less reinfection after receiving the vaccine. So we should all indulge in some kind of moderate exercise after receiving the COVID vaccination. So friends, at the end, it is one of the oldest intervention of modern medicine which has stood the test of the time, and immunization and vaccination is one of the most cost-effective, impactful intervention in the history of modern medicine, and probably we will come sort of come out winner with this from this pandemic, probably with the help of vaccination. Friends, I express my gratitude to the chairpersons, Dr. Bansi Sabu, Dr. Amit Agarwal team for making me the part of this amazing event. And I wish you a very safe and healthy future. Thank you very much.